What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel and welcome back to the video. Today I'm doing my Thanksgiving Q&A. A lot of you sent some really interesting and really good questions, and today I'm going to try to answer as many of these questions as possible, but I'm probably not going to be able to get to every single question. Before beginning this Q&A though, I also want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Hope everyone's been spending time with their families, having a really good day. Hope you've all been able to spend time with your families. So now, let's go ahead and jump into the Q&A. The first question comes in from Cars in Thomas Productions 7793, and they ask, do you play any NASCAR games? And they say, if so, what do you have? I have a lot of NASCAR games, actually. I have NASCAR Thunder 2004. I have NASCAR 2005 Chase for the Cup. I think I have NASCAR the game Inside Line currently at the moment. NASCAR 14, NASCAR 15. I don't have NASCAR 21 Ignition. Thank God for that. I do have a lot of the NASCAR Heat games. And hopefully when NASCAR 25 does come out, I'll be able to get that games. I'm really excited about NASCAR 25 that iRacing is developing. But those are the games I currently have at this moment. The next question comes in from another guy, 123. They ask, what's your opinion on 2311 using the 35 for Riley Herbst instead of continuing the number theme and sticking to the 67? I'll be honest, I really thought they were going to use the number 67 for Riley Herbst because that's the number they've been using with the chronological order. Bubba Wilson to 23, Todd Redkin to 45, and then Riley into 67. But it makes a lot of sense why they went with a 35. It kind of is synopsis of Michael Jordan's baseball career when he was playing for Scottsdale and when he basically originally retired from the NBA. So it makes a lot of sense to go with that. They are probably going to run the 67 car potentially at some point for Corey Heim perhaps next year. Maybe if Eric Almirola ever want to come back to Cup, he could be another candidate. But I definitely would like to see them use 67, but they're using the 35 because of the baseball lineage. The next question comes in from Alex Jenkins. He said, love your videos, bro. Do appreciate for that. Can you give me or tell me a page where all the teams and the contract manufacturers' contracts? That is a really good question. I know J-Ski posts a lot of the contracts that they do go through. I think they're the only ones I know for a fact that do have the contracts of some of the teams. I do know there's some drivers that have contracts years this year. I think Denny Hamlin's in a contract year. I think Ross Chastain's also in a contract year this year. And I know for a fact that Daniel Suarez and maybe Alex Bowman are in contract years. Bubba Wallace is not in a contract year. But I think J-Ski is a really good place to look at when it comes to those contracts because they usually have the contracts for those teams. The next question comes in from Tristan Strux. They ask, what number is Christian Eckes in the Xfinity Series next year? The number Christian Eckes will be using is the number 16. He is quintessential replacing AJ Allmendinger, who of course moving back up to the NASCAR Cup Series full time to drive the 16 car. They're putting him in basically the main number 16 car, which makes a lot of sense. Christian, I think, is going to be really strong, by the way, in 2025. He'll be teammates with Daniel Dye and Josh Williams in 2025. The next question comes in from Unisorio Normal 7828. They say, who's your favorite and least favorite active drivers among the top three NASCAR divisions? Well, if we're just going to go by all three series combined for the Cup Series, it's Kyle Larson. I've been a Kyle Larson fan for a very long time. Basically, since Tony Stewart and Carl Edwards retired, because those were my two original guys that I had supported. They basically were my top three my favorite drivers. And then when Kyle Larson took over in 2017, when they retired officially, and Larson's been my guy pretty much ever since, and I've been a fan of his. Other candidates, though, that could have made it, Shane Van Gisbergen, Chase Elliott, Bubba Wallace, like all of those guys. Those are my three other favorites, and then probably Connor Zillage, too, is up there as one of my favorite drivers currently at the moment. But currently, Kyle Larson is my favorite NASCAR driver at this time. My next question comes from Franklin Lane. He asked, do you have any NASCAR memorabilia? I used to have a really cool Jimmy Johnson poster, I think from 2003 when he won the All-Star race. I think of someone who used to be a friend of ours, my family, or someone that used to, I think, go to the farmer's market that my brother went to. I think they used to have a poster. I think that got destroyed not too long ago, unfortunately, so that sucks to see. I don't, outside of that, really have any NASCAR memorabilia, unfortunately, but I'm probably going to start collecting that in the future, and if I do, I might share that on the channel. My next question comes in from JudeY4401, and they ask, I'm thinking about watching some full NASCAR races from past years this offseason. What races would you recommend? There's some really good ones that I definitely would recommend. The 1979 Daytona 500 is one, that iconic last lap. The 1992 Hooters 500. The 2003 Carolina Dodge Dealers 400. And if you're looking to go even a little farther back, like I said, some of the old iconic 1976 Daytona 500. The 1992 Daytona 500. some of the more iconic races of our time. And I think even the 1999 race at Bristol that Dale Sr. basically said I didn't want to wreck him, I just wanted to rattle his cage a little bit. Those are some of the more iconic races to me, and I definitely recommend some of those races for sure to go ahead and watch. My next question comes in from Logan England 8177. If you had a NASCAR team, what would your drivers be? Well, if there's a 4-car limit and I'm allowed to have 4 cars because I'd be the one making the decision, the 4 drivers I'd have on my team are Kyle Larson, Shane Van Gisbergen, Connor Zilisch, and I would probably put someone like a Corey Heim on my organization as well. 2 really young drivers behind the wheel, 2 of the most talented prospects out there. I'd like to have 2 really young guys. But I also want to see probably the best guy in Cup currently at the moment, that being Kyle Larson. And I want to see Shane Van Gisbergen, who's going to bring some of that Red Bull sponsorship in. Those are probably the 4 drivers. If I do some outside candidates, probably Chase Elliott or probably Tyler Reddick, because they're 2 of the other really great drivers. Even Christopher Bell, I would consider. But my 4 main guys will be Connor Zilisch, Kyle Larson, Shane Van Gisbergen, and Corey Heim, most likely as my drivers. My next question comes in from Icy Blue Burst 03. They ask, if you want a diecast of your favorite NASCAR paint scheme, what would it be? Ooh, this is a really, really good one. There's some really, really good ones. Tony Stewart's Office Depot scheme when they originally went over to Super Haas Racing. That's one I definitely would like to have for sure. Some of the Shane Van Gisbergen and Wendy schemes are some of the most iconic. The Cristobal Mobile 1 scheme, that one was really good this year. Kyle Larson's Indianapolis 500 scheme that he got to run at the Brickyard, that's one I definitely want for sure. And that's one I definitely would love to see because that was one of my favorite schemes of the year for sure. And I really would like to get more diecast. I really don't have any, unfortunately, at this time, especially modern. The only one I've got from like the last 10 years is Matt Crafton's one that I wanted to give away, like, funny thing. So I definitely would like to get some more for sure, but there's definitely some good ones out there that I really, really want. My next question comes in from Danny Alex 7152, and they ask, what was your favorite paint scheme from the Cup Series this season from 2024? This probably is going to come off a little bit biased, but I definitely think my favorite scheme of the year is Kyle Larson's scheme that he ran basically for the Indianapolis 500 Coke 600 double. He got to eventually run that. That was my favorite scheme of the year. I love the color look of it. The Mobile 1 scheme is definitely up there for sure. Some of Shane Van Gisbergen's Wendy schemes were up there this year too, but for me, it was Kyle Larson's car that he ran at the Brickyard. It looked so good. The McLaren orange looked amazing. I honestly would love to see him go to that transition and transition away from the old stuff and go toward the new stuff that they ran at the Brickyard. My next question comes in from Riley W6873. Originally they said, how do you think Ryan Preece? I think they were asking, how do you think Ryan Preece is going to do in 2025? Realistically, I think Ryan Preece is going to be very, very solid next year. I think he's going to show a lot of speed. I think that he will have his best Cup season up to this point. Do I think he's going to outperform Chris Buescher and Brad Keselowski? Probably not, but I think he is going to be a very solid driver. I think he's been very underrated, and I think a lot of people have sent unjustified hate to him. I feel like he's never really had a good opportunity in Cup, and I think he will run very, very well in the Cup Series next year. I think he's going to be very, very strong with RFK Racing in 2025. My next question comes in from John Van Deventer 8668, a loyal viewer of my channel. And they say, who do you think is going to win Rookie of the Year next year for Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup? Who impressed you the most this season? So basically a two-parter question. Well, going into 2025, looking at the current lineups at this point, for the Truck Series, I'm going to say Caden Honeycutt. Caden Honeycutt was very, very strong at times with Nice Motorsports, and while you're going to have Tony Breidinger and probably Andres Perez with their teams next year, I still think that Caden Honeycutt, how much talent he showed this year, I think he's probably going to win the Rookie of the Year if he is eligible. For Xfinity, I think it's going to come down between Carson Quaffle and Connor Zilisch and probably Christian Eckes. I'm going to give the edge to Connor because I think Connor actually has a really good shot to win the title this year. I think he's going to be the guy to beat, and I think he will be the one who ends up winning the title for that. As for Cup, I think it's going to be Shane Van Gisbergen. I think SVG is going to win Rookie of the Year this year. I think he's going to be the best performer. I think he will make the playoffs most likely this year. And while I think Riley Hurts will have some flashes of brilliance without question, I think that next year it's going to be Shane Van Gisbergen who's going to win the Rookie of the Year for Cup. As for the most impressive, SVG and Xfinity was very impressive this year, I gotta say. I will say at times Carson Hocevar, when he wasn't racing like an idiot on the racetrack, he was very impressive. Roger Cruz showed a lot of growth in the truck series this year. So those are some of the people that I think really showed impressiveness. If you're looking for drivers that disappointed me, Haley Deegan for sure disappointed me. Legacy Motor Club was extremely disappointing this year. I think some of the other drivers like Corey LaJoie also really disappointed me. And Zane Smith too in Cup, I will say, was very impressive in the second half of the year. My next question comes in from Jacob Wilson 6192. They ask, my question is, your opinion. Do you think NASCAR will make a settlement to Front Row Motorsports before 2011? And will Michael Jordan from 2011 will not settle and risk it all on the antitrust lawsuit? I thought there'd be a chance they would settle, to be honest, when it comes to the lawsuit, but the fact they're going for a second run of preliminary injunction tells me that they're not going for a settlement. Obviously, they confirmed yesterday they're going to be going for a preliminary injunction, and they are hoping to have that set. The court dates have been set, to my understanding. I think that December 9th is going to be the first response from the teams or NASCAR. December 12th, I think, is when the teams have to respond, and the court case is still to be determined at this point. So we're probably going to be waiting a few weeks, and depending on how things go, we may not find out what's going on with that for a couple weeks, and I think this lawsuit is going to be lasting for a very long time going forward. The next question comes in from Logan England 8177. He asks, favorite NASCAR track? I'm going to say Kansas Speedway right now. I think Kansas is the best track in NASCAR at the moment. The racing's really excellent. It's very, very fun. It's kind of a biased track for me because it's one of my home tracks. I always enjoy the racing there. It doesn't matter the series. The Truck Series puts on great shows. The Xfinity Series puts on great shows. And the Cup Series put on some really good shows, especially in the next-gen era. This track has aged well. It's grown on me. And it's definitely, for me, my favorite track on the schedule. The next question comes in from Joey Logano fan 22/M9. They ask, favorite race of 2024. It really was close between two races. The Straight Talk Wireless 400 Homestead Miami Speedway and the Avon 400 at Kansas Speedway. For me, I'm going to give the advantage of Homestead Miami Speedway race. That race was not only one of the best races of the year, it was probably one of the best races I've ever watched. From start to finish, you had nonstop action. Multiple battles for the lead. So many lead changes. The most lead changes, I think, in Homestead Miami history. Probably the best race Homestead's ever put on, and it had a really great finish at the end. The thing about Kansas, right, is it had a lot of great moments, and that 5-wide move was really, really great to see Kyle Larson, Chris Buescher, and those guys do that 5-wide with Ross Chesney being involved in that as well. But I think that the last 78 laps were also really great for the race at Homestead. So for me, my favorite race of 2024 is definitely going to be the race at Homestead. And the final question that I'm answering today comes in from John Skates 97, a loyal viewer of this channel. They say, favorite NASCAR video game? Well, I play some of the really good games, right? NASCAR Thunder 2004, NASCAR 2005 Chase for the Cup. I'm going to say NASCAR Thunder 2004. Best game I think I've played. I've played it quite a few times, especially my original Xbox over here. I think it's a really, really good game. And I think it was a game that I absolutely enjoyed and a game that I think everyone should play. And if you haven't played it, I suggest going and getting it. It's a really fun game. Get your original PlayStation, get your original Xbox, so you can go ahead and play it. But for me, NASCAR Thunder 2004 is my favorite game I've probably ever played from the NASCAR genre. So, that is the Q&A for Thanksgiving. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so if I win a video, it does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Let's go below that and comment your thoughts below on today's episode. I just want to say I really appreciate the support on the channel throughout the 2024 year. I am probably going to have more Thanksgiving Q&A, not Thanksgiving, but probably more Q&As dropping on this channel in the future. Probably in 2025, you're going to see a few of those. I've got some really good NASCAR content dropping. Tomorrow, you're going to see the Junior Motorsports preview dropping. You're also going to see probably top 10 NASCAR teams at some point this weekend. You're probably going to see 10 drivers who could have a breakout season, 10 drivers who need to basically step it up next year, and some other great content dropping I think you guys are really going to enjoy. We'll talk about people like Carl Edwards, Kurt Busch, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, you name it, and probably even SVG as well really soon because I have a video on him coming here in the future. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.